say you got a bunch of guys watching this all be on like the same wavelength in terms of like understanding of the world, aka red pill, right? But then there might be at different levels of competency in their life. You know, they're different ages, they're different levels of income, different levels of fitness, etc. Right? How can guys try to find dudes they can align with if they're at such different places in life?
I think it's probably easier if you start with age, you know, just because statistically I think a guy in his 20s is going to be closer to a guy in his 20s, not closer to a guy, you know, in his 30s. And then I guess, man, just looking hard. And then once you find that person, man, you might have to burn the boat and commit, you know. We just signed a lease in a really, really nice place in Miami. I burned the boat on that deal because, you know how hard it is to come by.
Yeah.
You know, and so once you find it and you know it is what you think it is, and I think that's the hardest part is finding it. But I think that it's something that you constantly need to be looking for, because what you're actually doing is trying to put yourself in a pressure cooker of being a better man all the way around.
Yeah.
Because you're putting yourself in an environment is what you're really doing.
Where you can't get comfortable, you can't relax.
Nobody will let you relax. You know, by the time I start to relax, you'll turn up.
Yeah.
By the time you start to relax, I'll turn up. And with that constantly going on, if I see you typing away on your computer, I'll be fucking damned if I'm not going to open mine. Or if you see me going to the gym, next thing you know, boom, you're signing a contract at UFC down the street like you did. I mean, it is what it is, man. And I think a good way to, you know, because motivation comes and goes, right? But putting yourself in a position that's going to force you to do certain things is actually a really smart way of doing it, because then
it's called death ground strategy is what that is.
So how does that work?
Death ground strategy is burn the boats behind you, burn the bridges behind you. If you put yourself into a situation where, and by the way, this is straight out of Robert Greene's 33 Strategies of War, by the way, but it's commonly known as death ground strategy. If you'll fight that much harder if you don't have any other options. If you can't go back, you know, sometimes the best plan A is not to have a plan B. And so when you put yourself into what's called death ground strategy, it's like you either, you get rich or die trying. You know, that's the sense of it. And you can apply that to a lot of different aspects of your life too. It doesn't have to be like, you know, win the war or not. I mean, it's like, it can be in business, it can be in a relationship, it can be in all kinds of different ways. So, but that's really what that is. It's like, you have to give yourself less options, or you have to deliberately put yourself into positions where things are made harder for you so that you can grow from that. That's another thing that I don't think a lot of guys really do these days. Is we're so comfortable right now. It's convenient for us to do stuff. It's again, like I said, the internet is it's the advertising is it's this big extravagance, and we're going to do an online, you know, concert, or we're going to stream whatever, and it's everybody's going to get together. It's like, no one's getting together. Everybody is at their, you know, watching on their iPads or their phones or whatever else, and it's not an actual, you know, it's not an actual interaction, a human interaction. We were talking about gambling yesterday and going to the casinos and stuff, and I mentioned that the only thing I play in the casinos is craps, and sometimes 21, right? Because I want to see somebody across the table from me. I want a human being that I'm playing. And again, even the dealers, they're on your side. They want you to win because they want you to tip them, right? But it's not the same as, like, say, going to a video slot machine or a poker machine or whatever, and you're just, it's just like playing. You might as well have your phone in front of your hands at that point, because there's no like human interaction between the two of you, and you don't remember that occasion because there's no occasion to remember. It's just you playing that, and there has to be that kind of connection, that kind of interaction between the two of you. And I think that's greatly missing right now from a lot of guys, because it's something that's hard to relate to. It doesn't resonate with them. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go online and chat and, you know, put, you know, a drive-by comment on Rolo's, you know, latest video.
And it would raise a question: why is it worth it to win in war if there's no one to celebrate with?
Right.
You know, if there's no one there to see
What
it.
memories are you creating?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we're creating memories this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say later on, I'm at the point in my life right now, and I like what you said about, you know, guys of different ages and stuff like that, but I'm at the point right now where I want to do things with my money and help, like, put it into, like, projects. Like, I'm working with Kevin Savo right now, and I'm looking at other things because I want to foster things that I would have loved to have been fostered when I was like Tom's age, right? But it's that's one, and the other thing is that you know, I'm past 50 now, so it's like I'm more concerned with experiences than things. It's nice to have toys, but I want toys that I can have experiences on that I can go and say, okay, I got a sled, I got my snowmobile, I can get it to the top of Tallac or wherever we're going to go, right? That kind of stuff. That's the experience side. It's just a tool to get me into the experience right now. So it's not so much about materialism as it is, I want to be able to experience like rock climbing or parachuting, whatever it is.
You have this saying,
The rocking chair, yeah.
the rocking chair thing. Like when you're an old man, what are the things you're going to remember?
What's going to make you smile?
Remembering it, smiling on your rocking chair.
Right.
Oh, that time we went to Tahoe and did that thing,
Yeah.
or that time we got busted by the cops down in Reno, or whatever it is.
That's how I make my decisions. I make my decisions off of that. If I have a hard decision to make, and I'm like, okay, do I go to Tahoe? Do I not? Do I go to Europe? Do I not? Well, when I'm 90 years old and I can't do it anymore, will I smile?
Yeah.
And just to transition, because I definitely want to loop back something we were talking about, how we call each other names and things. I just want to, when we're on the subject of friends, I'd want to transition to, when do we not say those things to one another in the presence of women? And about the loyalty of a friend. Like, there's a lot of things that happen. You're a group of couples, you're so used to calling each other said name. But one thing, Sterling, I absolutely do not do ever is call each other names or even joke around in front of women. Now, the second they leave, he's a bunch of words I can't say on YouTube.
Back at it again.
Yeah. Back at it again. But one of the rules that we keep very, very well is, if Sterling gets up to pee, I walk over to his girl and say, like, how did you get him? I mean,
Backing him up.
yeah, we back him up. We set frames for one another quite a bit.
It's just unfair.
It is. But look, life ain't fair. Get mad or play fucking ball.
They're playing against the A team right here.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, we talk about these things. Like, I know not, like, me and Sterling do not say, not even jokingly, do we say these things in front, whether it's a business person or a female or whatever it is, we hold frame for each other in each other's absence on purpose. Yeah. So, you definitely should call your friends names and cut up and do all those other things. But there's definitely a time and a place for it, and it's kind of in the privacy of that friendship.
Yeah, which is why it's important for guys to have their time only around the boys. And not constantly interacting in like a mixed gender environment.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
And there's something else we do all the time, which is we never, like, the moment one of us is, working a girl, we've matched with her on IG or whatever, or we're constantly sharing notes. It's like, oh, okay, this one's yours. Like, game over. Even if we both match with her or something, or even if we both initially talk to her.
He'll do it from across the ocean. You want to talk about loyalty? Loyalty? Tristan Tate texts me the other day. He's like, hey, Jay, see this girl's following you on IG. I would have never known. That's loyalty.
Yeah.
That's fucking loyalty, man. And I would do the same. And I don't know who said this. It was one of the two of them. But they said, you want to know if you can trust a guy or not? Leave them with your girlfriend and your bank account for the weekend. And I think that's very true. You want to find, like, I don't trust a broke guy. I don't trust a guy that can't get girls, because, and that's why I say ethics happen before you need them. Is like, you need to find guys that are working on this. Y'all need to work on it together, and then that way, you both can be in abundance. So you don't find yourself in a drought of either of those two things, so you can be abundant and you don't do something desperate, because you'll regret it, and it's going to be much harder to make that money back or find another. It'll be much easier to make the money back or find another girl than it will be to replace that man. Yeah. That's a fact.
Yeah, you're going to compromise your values.
Yeah.
You're going to compromise your friendship.
Right, and
you're
not going to find many of them.
Just to get your dick sucked for like 30 minutes.
One of my favorite lines in any movie is in a movie called Tombstone. There's a shootout. And I forget the guy's name that did all the shooting, but he's sick. And the guy's like, why did you do that? You could have died. And he goes, well, because they're my friend. And he goes, I got a bunch of friends. And he simply says, I don't. And I think that's one of the most powerful lines in that movie, man, because if you think you have more than a handful of friends, you might not have any friends. Not real ones.
Yeah.
Close ones.
Real close ones, like the ones that are going to, like you said,
carry you to the grave.
Carry you to the grave, be a pallbearer, turn up at your, at your funeral.
I did a full episode on, like, the loneliness, like why you're lonely kind of thing. And how to deal with that not too long ago. And I had a lot of feedback on that, because it was based on an article, actually several articles, but one that I think was in the Boston Globe, about how men today don't have close friends. And the solution, of course, by the female author of the article is, be more like a chick, right? Like, spend time with your set up coffee dates. And it's like, no, that's not how men interact. You just simply fundamentally don't understand how men create friends, how men have friendships. And yeah, they're right. Most guys today, there's a very deep lack of friendship between men and men. And the older you get, the tougher it is. You're more likely to just be at home and I mean, you go and you look at the suicide rate, at least in the United States, anyways, for men, it's between 45 and 65 years old, and most of them are suicides of despair. Because they don't have anybody to talk to, they don't have they don't have any close friendships, and even the friends that they do have, they're online. They don't talk to them face to face. And so, you're gonna nobody cares either. That's the other thing, is nobody cares. If it was women who killed themselves at between 3.5 to 5 times the rate of
we'd have a whole
men.
month for it.
Oh man, yeah, we'd have a whole
ribbon
month for it.
We'd have a fucking ribbon for it. Rollo, would you say those guys are coming off a post-divorce where they've invested all of their friendship potential and all their companionship potential into a woman, then she leaves and then they've got nothing?
Right. Well, because they think that that's the way it should be. They think that they should give up. Like a lot of guys, particularly the 80%ers, most beta blue pill guys, think that their duty is to be as alike with their wife or their girlfriend or whatever as possible. That's identification game right there. And then second of all is that's the right thing to do. What's the first thing that a lot of guys do when they get a girlfriend or they get married is they give up on their friends, or they just don't see them anymore because they're supposed to be spending time with the girl. And then, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy kind of thing. And so you get to a point where that becomes your life, and then suddenly divorce or suddenly something happens, like your life can change in the blink of an eye. Then suddenly you're kind of ass out, man. You don't know what to do with yourself, and it's what I call getting zeroed out. And there's lots of ways to get zeroed out. You can lose your job, you can lose your wife, you can lose, your living situation. Maybe just something just rattles your cage so much that it fundamentally changes your perspective on life and everything else. And you don't know what to do with yourself. That's what a lot of the guys, when they come up to me and say, "Hey, man, I just got into the red pill. I realized, that the way I have been living my life for the last, quarter century, 25, 30 years has been based on, inaccurate information. And now I have two choices. I can either rebuild myself and remake myself, or I can just off myself." And when you are 50, 60, 70 years old, you might say, you know what, I don't have enough time to really, do anything or rebuild, which is bullshit, by the way.
Yes, complete bullshit.
But that's the thinking, the common thinking. And when you get zeroed out, sometimes it seems like suicide is the solution for you. And guys are very pragmatic about that. Women will say, well, women attempt suicide more. I go, yeah, because that's an emotional, appeal. That's
guys are better at it.
Yes, and when men kill themselves, it's a pragmatic decision. It's just seems to me this is the best way to go. You can go about it.
It's an evaluation.
Yeah, and it's never the right. I mean, I've spent my whole time as Rollo Tomasi, trying to keep the noose off guys' necks and the gun out of their mouths. And I thank God I've been able to do that. But I understand how they come to that point. I understand the deductive reasoning that is behind that, for sure. But it's you don't have anybody to really bounce ideas off of. You don't have anyone to interrelate with. And maybe what I think is kind of tragic is maybe those guys did before, like maybe when they were single, or maybe like for the first part of their marriage they were they had some friends that they hung out with, and then slowly they just kind of dropped off because either logistics or responsibilities or the idea that got to keep mama happy kind of thing. And then they get to a point where they don't have those relationships that they used to have. And for women, because women have a much greater facility with communication, and they have much broader social networks in the sense that like friendship and collective, the sisterhood, right? They don't understand why guys don't have friends, because they do. And so their solution is always, well, you don't have friends. Well, you need to go to Bridge Club, right? Or you need to go, have set up a coffee date at Starbucks.
Let's go to Pilates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so their solution is the female way of relating as friends, and they have no clue how guys actually create connections, first of all, and then second of all, those guys don't know how to interrelate with other guys anyways. So yeah, it certainly seems like I understand the despondency, I understand the nihilism that comes with that when you get zeroed out.